Hey, listener! Welcome to So What'd You Learn, where we learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to. I am Alex.
I'm Zach.
I'm Dallas.
And our special guest today is...
Chris.
Yay, welcome, Chris. Yay, round of applause. Yeah. So here we are in a sweaty as balls apartment.
It's so hot.
It is a
So
lovely heat
hot.
wave in the Seattle area.
And it's May. May this please fucking end.
I was
the world is burning.
listening to this Towns Van Zandt record earlier today, and it's a live record. So in the beginning, it's like this guy telling everybody where the pool tables and cigarettes machines are, and then Towns goes up there and sits down. And he's like, "Hey guys, I'm really sorry about the air conditioning, but it'll be back on soon. I don't know what we're gonna do." They have to turn the air conditioning off for his recording because he's playing live.
Like we had to turn the fan off for this recording.
It's the same thing.
And it is 2 minutes and we're already sweating.
I'm pretty sure I've now adhered to the chair.
I'm drenched, that's for sure.
This is going to be fun. Well, in honor of it being so damn hot, Dallas and I have been sharing a lovely video lately that we learned from the great podcast Profiles in Eccentricity. Shout out. Go listen to them. They're fantastic. But we found out about some little known jingles performed by the Ramones for the lovely Steel Reserve. So I thought as a treat for you listeners and my fellow co-hosts here.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you don't thank
You
me.
should
Thank Grocery Outlet, the
have.
bargain market.
Yes, Gross Out, my favorite.
So
Discount grocery.
So we are going to try some Steel Reserve Tall Boys I bought live on air for you. I have not had Steel Reserves since I was
Live recorded.
20. So it's been about 9 years for me.
I'm legitimately worried because it's only 6 o'clock.
So are we going to shotgun like these
Oh,
Millers and then
Lord,
go
no,
down?
no. Nobody needs to be subjected to a shotgun Steel Reserve face mic.
That's too much high gravity lager.
Unfortunately, who fucking knows? Never went through a trash drinking phase. I was like, I'm a sheltered homeschooler. When I start drinking the devil's juice, I am going to buy nice things. So I learned what nice things taste like.
Well, la-di-da.
Like Rainier or Southern Comfort. I don't know. I've never actually drank Southern Comfort, but
I see your point, yes.
yeah. So I've never had Steel Reserve.
Well, this is going to be a treat. Chris, what about you? What's your Steel Reserve experience?
High school. It was Steel Reserve, King Cobra, and Colt 45. I think is what we.
King Cobra's rough.
Yeah.
I have a pretty rough high school. So my first beer ever. Oh, here we go.
We're
Queuing it up.
distributing
Here we go.
the Tall Boys of the high gravity lager here.
My first beer ever was stolen from my father, and he had a
Naturally.
little mini
One
fridge
from
behind the
you.
bar that we had in
Thank you.
our upstairs bonus room area. And it was not a Bud Light or a Budweiser,
Yes.
but a Bud Ice.
Ooh, rough.
Bud Ice? I haven't seen a Bud Ice and
So
I drank Natty Ice when I was
I
like
don't
16.
even know what that is.
I don't think it exists
it's
in
non-carbonated Bud Light.
Oh, God.
They have higher
Basically.
alcohol
They do.
percentages, ice beers, yeah. And they also taste like hot
Oh,
garbage.
kind of like an ice wine.
Yeah, kind of, but
Also tasting like hot garbage?
yeah, also just a different flavor
I'm
profile.
Googling Bud Ice.
I
right
still
now.
remember the last time I
Ooh,
drank.
1.5 stars on Rate Beer.
Oh yeah, that's a high quality pilsner right there.
It's a low quality
Everything.
everything. Oh my god. Overall 0, style 1. I don't even know what that's out
That's
of.
just the design on the can.
Yeah. Okay, so it is
America's
only
lowest rated beer.
it is only 5.5 ABV.
Oh wow,
165 calories.
What are the bitterness units?
Introduced in 1994, Bud Ice is a smooth. No, this is all a lie.
Not smooth.
That's just a horseshit copy that some intern had
There's
to
just
write.
no carbonation in it. That's what makes it smooth, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I asked later on after I drunk that horrible monstrosity in the woods across the street from my house,
Right, of
to
course.
my dad when I was older, why did he drink this? That he gets heartburn and he has to drink the ice.
Oh, no.
I thought he was just my dad. He intentionally bought really shitty beer and kept it because he knew he would steal it as
Yeah.
teenagers. So he's like, yeah,
Dude, that is genius.
I'll keep the shitty beer for you
Yeah.
kids to fucking. So yeah, we got God, it was Keystone Light was the most was the most.
Oh man.
Well, you
we
want to
ready
try
to
it
do
out?
this?
Okay, let's
Yeah.
try it out,
Okay.
dude. All right, thanks, Profiles.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That was trying to
All right.
strategically
Cheers,
cheers
guys.
for the
Shitty
Cheers.
things.
To my
Spill it
horrible
all
idea.
over the
Mind you,
laptop.
none of us have finished our Millers yet. So.
No, we already cracked beers before we did this.
It's sweaty as nuts.
Wow, that is.
That's really bad.
That's actually pretty good.
I'm at trashy. I kind of like it. Yeah.
It's like a stout or like a coffee.
Almost. It's so metallic-y.
It is very metallic.
It's like if apple juice. It's like apple juice's rougher cousin.
apple
who,
cider
like,
from the
has
rough side of town.
tattoos and a piercing.
Oh my god.
I like it.
I don't like it, but I will.
I'll drink
goddamn.
it.
I'll
Suck
drink
it
it.
down.
It is 8.1
Twist my arm.
alcohol.
Should rename the show to like "Don't Let Me Regret This."
Well, no, it's still gonna be like. So, what do you learn from going on that fucking podcast?
Don't drink Steel Reserve. Jesus
So,
Christ.
I learned today that I don't really like Steel Reserve, but I will drink it anyway because it is open.
I
and
learned
to
that-
throw it away would be abuse.
I learned that I'm a trash person that kind of likes the taste of Steel Reserve. I'm going to finish this and enjoy it.
So, do you want me to go first, Chris, or do you want to go first? Okay.
All right, Dallas, you're
One
up.
little Notepad++ click away. So, this is an uncomfortable story about a girl.
Fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
I have no idea if you know this person or not. But
Doesn't matter.
Both of the key characters in the story will remain girl and boy. The boy is my friend, and girl is not a friend. So,
Former friend.
let me just steal her. God, it is so fucking hot here.
Yeah, we should have gotten like water instead of literally one of
Something
the
that
most-
makes us more dehydrated.
Yeah. Well, I have water, but we'll handle it later.
Now we don't need water.
Okay, so this what'd you learn isn't necessarily a lesson I learned. I learned lessons, but the main lesson lies in boy, the character boy. So it was happening a while back, and I started seeing this girl who used to live like nearby here, actually, where we are today. So I'd always run into her at like beer and bars, and she helped me like dig my car out of the snow one time, which was like that was
That
kind of
one
cool.
time it snowed.
The one time it snowed like 2
Snow
years ago.
apocalypse.
Yeah. So I mean, she seemed nice, whatever. Like she was always hanging out, and so go Chris.
Chug it.
My story's so bad he needs to drink it all.
just setting a great pace for future guests. I want you to know.
it.
So bad.
I didn't mean to interrupt with my gulping.
Oh no,
That's kind of the point.
it was wonderful.
So
Keep in mind, we are allowed to distract Dallas on weird tangents.
I already can't read, so I mean, so
But can he juggle? Catch, Dallas!
So some events transpire, and we start, hanging out as not friends.
Fuck.
You courted this
I don't
young
kiss
woman.
and tell. I'm not going to go into that on this podcast.
Can you at least tell? Is it like an actual relationship, or is you guys are just kind of
I would say it was like
bumping uglies?
that is the worst,
Make it
the worst
whoopee.
phrase.
I would
Bumping
say
uglies.
we weren't Facebook official, but it was like going down.
I understand.
Yeah. So anyway, a few weeks go by, and we talk like every other day or whatever. We're hanging out a few times a week on the weekends or normal shit. And first kind of week or two go by, and she's telling me the story about how the roommate she's living with, they get into like a physical altercation, and her roommate calls the cops, and while the cops are on their way to the house, she runs down into the garage and slits her wrists, and then the
Cool.
cops show up, and she
The friend,
That
The
escalated
roommate.
the
quickly.
roommate she was having a physical altercation with. Okay.
yeah. And so when the cops showed up, she blamed a girl in the story that she was sleeping, and I woke up to her slitting my wrists.
But here's the question: was it across the street or up the road? Because
It was across the street.
Okay, then obviously they're like,
Yeah.
I
Not a pro here.
not a pro.
didn't really ask for any details. I don't know why, but red flag.
You just didn't want to know. That's why you didn't ask
Sounds
details.
like the beginning of a tumultuous interaction with this.
Yeah, red flag number 1. Let's put the pin on
Planet.
that one. Planet. So, a few more weeks go by, and I hear another story about same roommate, where girl is pulling out of her. Can we name this person? Can we come up with a name?
Yeah,
Your
It's
story.
your story. I was like, oh god, we're gonna be like girl, boy, and you're like, and so this one
Little
girl.
confusing.
Wait, are we talking
Can
about
we-
girl, or is this separate girl?
I know we need to come up with a fake name.
Felicity.
Felicity, okay, and boy,
Burl.
Burl.
See him, bro.
My neighbor Burl.
Okay, Felicity. So Felicity is pulling out of her driveway, right? And must have just recently had another roommate scuffle, whatever.
Scuffle. Squabble.
Scaffolding.
Squabble.
Yeah, squabble.
Kerfuffle.
And according to her, she
think it
was
was a kerfuffle.
pulling away in the cul-de-sac, and the roommate comes out and is running towards the car and just jumps into the passenger window.
It was
'Cause
the
windows
window
It
up?
was down.
Okay.
It was down.
It was down. Because if the window was up,
Trying-
that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
And
trying to-
trying to leap into a car and just like right into the window.
Like a cat trying
Yeah.
to run through a screen
yeah,
door.
exactly.
Yeah, and so I don't know if she just accelerated and she fell out, but it was not successful and she drove away, apparently.
So the roommate
So-
did not gain access to the car.
No,
Okay.
Okay.
while it was moving.
But she did a flying fucking wrestling
Pretty much
knee
like
into the fucking
knees
car.
into the side, head into the top. Yeah, it was.
She did a Daniel Bryan flying knee into the car.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. So, red flag number 2. And at this point, I'm just kind of, okay, your roommate is insane. You
Right.
seem fine. But everything that
fuck you,
happens
you're cool.
to you, yeah, everything that happens to you, and there's more of these stories I'm not going to go into, but everything that happens to you seems to be ridiculous. And I'm like, why would normal people don't experience this
Right.
quantity
Right.
of
There has to be a common
ridiculous-
Like, you somehow
denominator
got
here.
robbed coming over here? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, no, that's strange. Again, common denominator. There has to be one.
Yeah, so one weekend we're out with name
Burl.
So we're hanging out with Burl and a couple buddies from my high school and Felicity. And so we go down to Georgetown. We all meet up at the little pool hall down there, not 9 Pound, but the one.
The nicer
Stargrass?
one that.
Yeah, the one next to that. So we're all playing pool. And then we go over to 9 Pound and we end up at Flip Flop Diggly Dang.
Love the local reference. People are gonna love that.
Yeah, they're not going to know. They can Google it. Flip Flop Ding Ding,
Flip,
Georgetown.
flip,
Washington.
flip,
flip.
flip.
Oh,
ding,
flip,
ding.
flip.
Because it's a pinball bar.
I thought it was
yeah.
Flip Flop.
No, it's flip, like the flippers. Like
Flip,
the
flip,
flip, ding, 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 flip, 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 flip.
Okay, well,
Way to go, guys! Our second episode, and that was our worst tangent.
So we're doing that, and we're hanging out there for like quite a long. We're there for like 2.5 hours, and
A lifetime.
a lifetime. And everybody seems to kind of, be drifting away into the night, like just whisking from the quantities of alcohol we.
I was gonna say, so you're just getting fucked up.
we're getting shit house.
Getting shithouse at a pinball bar.
Yeah, it was great. So we head back to our bar, the Hobnobber, and back when I took cash only. And so we're hanging out there, and I'm like, okay, I really need to pee. I've been on this lift for 30 minutes through all the traffic and everything. So I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. And I run inside and pee. I come back out and get drinks or whatever and sit down. And Felicity's there, but Burl. This is a really good name to remember. Burl's nowhere to be seen. So
Fucking Burl.
And he lives like pretty close by, so god damn, man.
Chug it.
Chris just really powerhousing through
Almost
that steel
done.
reserve.
I guess you don't have cotton in your mouth today, huh?
No, I don't. No. For anybody who doesn't know, I got 4 teeth pulled like a week ago.
Oh Jesus!
And my mouth was swollen like I got hit with a baseball bat.
But I mean,
times.
if you use the string and the door method, it's going to hurt. Like, I don't know why.
4 times. Yes.
Yeah, how you gained
Fourth time's the charm.
Maintain consciousness between teeth 3 and 4.
Whiskey.
Like a Civil War battlefield.
It is, speaking of battlefield, that's what it's like to chew right now. Like, you have to,
like a
dodge
minefield in your
each
mouth.
area.
I see,
You have
I
to dodge
understand.
the whole time.
Classic
while you're
pincer movement going around in your mouth. Yeah.
chewing. Yes. Lots of Doritos getting stuck in the
Oh God!
Maybe stay away from the crunchy
Yeah,
foods for a little
just
bit.
avoid the sea salt and vinegar flavor.
Oof. I know they're delicious, but
with a jalapeno.
So I look around and there's no more jalapeno chips or Burl. So, and like I said, he lives close by, so I was like, all right, whatever. You just Irish goodbye to get drunk and leave without telling anybody all the time. It's fine. Whatever.
Hey, Irish goodbye.
Yeah. Irish goodbye.
I mean,
So,
if I know Burl, sounds like Burl.
it sounds like
That's
Burl.
a real Burl move.
Yeah.
Do I know Burl?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
And Burl taught that move to me. So,
Oh, the Irish goodbye.
yeah. So anyway.
Classic Burl. What a dick.
So we hang out the rest of the night, and so in the morning, hit my buddy up, Burl, and normally like Saturday morning, me and Burl we go get brunch and we have our little mandate and complain
Fun.
about multiple different things.
The weather.
Yeah, the weather. And so, like, hey man, what's going on? Headed to the pants here soon, pretty quick. And he's like, oh, is Felicity still with you? And I'm like, yeah, she's still here. And he's like, well, just hit me up later. And I'm like, all right. Red flag number 3.
If you're playing at home, that's number 3, folks.
So,
Explain that to me. How's that a red flag? I think I'm lost.
red flag. So, like, me and this buddy Burl, we like every Saturday we go to this thing, and the only reason we didn't go get brunch is because Felicity was there.
Yeah, he
I was like,
specifically
what?
asked if
She
that
was there,
if that
and
woman
then-
We
was
just
still there.
spent 7 hours drinking together, so I was like, what happened?
So something, yeah, is
okay.
clearly off with Felicity.
I'm
that
not a
he
very
does
good
not.
storyteller. That's what.
No, you're fine. I
podcast.
just keep chugging the Steel Reserve.
Well, it is a high gravity lager.
Jesus. And so the rest of the weekend goes by, and Sunday comes around. And so I'm like, hey, man, what's happening? How's the rest of your weekend? And he's like, you should come over for a little bit. I'm like, sure, whatever. Burl
Hear
being
that?
Burl.
That, everyone?
That is...
Wow.
That is an empty steel
How many
reserve.
how many minutes are we in, Dallas?
Yeah.
that was impressive.
Let's check. I have a...
I-
That is an 1850. But
So
more
about-
like a
about
10-minute.
10,
Yeah,
10,
10,
15 minutes. Impressive, Chris.
Thank you.
Getting all warmed up for
Good
your
night.
story. Good night. Good night, my sweet prince.
Well, good thing I drove.
Well, I'm a professional. Don't worry about it.
So he's like, yeah, come on over.
So Burl wants to talk to you.
Burl wants me to come on over. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll hop in the motherfucking car, drive down there. It doesn't take me very long to get there. And I open the door, and he's like, hey, man, how much do you know about Felicity? And I go,
I know she is a squid person. She has 12 limbs.
Who
I
has
love
3
each
red
one of them.
flags?
And she
Three
waves
many
them in
flags.
such a cute little darling way. Like, oh, look at you with your flags.
raising crazy roommates in on the runway.
She is badass at in the parades with the flag twirlers.
Oh,
She
yeah.
has like 4 of them going at once. Like,
That ribbon dance?
shit.
Wow.
I can't do that. So
And you only have 6 limbs, so
do
maybe
I
I'm
have
just
6
super
limbs?
fucked up.
I have 4.
I stand corrected. Anyway,
A ding means.
So he sits me down and he's like, hey man, how much do you know about this girl? And I'm like, I don't know, like we've been hanging out for like a few months. I like know her pretty well, I think. And
I know her?
I know she has 3 many flags.
yeah. And he's like, well, at flip ding ding.
It's
While you're-
ding dong, flip flip ding dong.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, I am kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You had it right the first
Okay.
time. But that'd be a great gay bar that's also a pinball bar. Dude, copywriting it.
Flip flop ding dong.
Yeah,
They opened a new gay bar right next to my house called Swallows.
yeah.
Yes,
Actually, talked about it last episode.
Oh, did you?
You guys
A
want
friend
to
of
go
mine-
check it out?
Yeah, of course.
I'd be up for
Try it
it.
out.
A friend of mine was actually the first patron of
Yes.
Swallow.
A good friend of ours.
Oh wow,
yes.
like
Yeah.
waited line and everything.
Oh yeah, they were the first people in.
I always
He
wanted
said
to.
it was
be
wonderful,
first.
wonderfully gay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I heard there's just penises all over the walls.
I would hope so.
Rightly so.
It's the symbol of our people.
The only way I can have a whiskey soda. If I'm not staying up cock, I
Motherfucker, this is hard.
Good day, sir.
So
Your establishment doesn't have any cock for me. All right, I'll stop.
It is so hot.
It's so hot.
I'm
I'm
melting.
gonna have to figure out a quiet air conditioner situation.
There's no.
because-
I've listened to as many podcasts as I've listened to. I am also actively unbuttoning my shirt right now.
Hey.
I'm gonna
Showing some skin.
That will not help.
How is that gonna do?
It won't do anything.
I should
Dallas
I have
just shut the blinds to cut out. There's little sunlight, so we're.
I have a couple of cooling bandanas. Like off at work, I might be able to bring in.
No, I got Steel Reserve.
Nice. I use
So,
the cooling
I drank
bandanas
the
when
whole
it's,
thing.
when
It
it's
didn't cool
super
me down at
hot
all.
in the summer and I'm out on the third floor and I can't sleep because I'm like Nordic and I don't like the sun or heat or anything.
I'm Polish,
so
I
I
understand.
keep the window open at night and then I get this bandana, right? And it's made out of the space age material. And so you get it wet and you snap it. You snap it. And then I lie back and I drape it over my fat, shitty body. Like a motherfucking beached whale, just like. And they're like, get her back in the water, she's drying out.
Come back to bed, dear.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
So,
he's like, how well do you know this girl? And I'm like, I don't. Like I said, it's been a few months. I think I know her like okay, as much as you should know a person after hanging out with them for a few months. And he's like, all right, so we were at the pinball bar. Wow. And while you were in the bathroom, I went outside to go smoke a cigarette, and she came with me, and I'm like, okay. And she looked at me, and she was like, man, you look like really, really tired. Like, what's going on? And Burl just stated, like, I've just had a long week, been going kind of hard recently, and I am just very tired. There's nothing to it. And she's like, well, try this out. And she pulls out
from where?
from her bra.
yes.
Because you're doing the
Yeah,
visual.
this is an audio medium.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. She reaches her hand into her bra and pulls out a small, like, brownish
Baggie of
bag
something.
of something. And
That is clearly something illegal that she should not have.
yeah, and she's just like, here. And so Burl holds out his hand, and then she just goes bloop, and drops something in it.
The little baggie she pulled out of her bra.
And
Was it in a baggie?
it was in a
I'm
baggie.
assuming.
Yeah, it was like a little dumpy, like tap tap tap, like not the whole thing, kind of.
Like a dime bag.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
What color was it? What was the thing that came?
Well, so it's like
It was blue.
and the thing
No.
that got dumped into my hand was this, and he held his hand out to show me, and it was meth. So I was just like, oh fuck, damn it.
Oh
So-
man.
Yeah, kind of. And
And then the big old red flag, you know, the one they have at like an army base, just shot up.
and he and so I was like, okay. And he's like, well, I didn't know what to say. I was gonna say something earlier, but like I didn't know if you knew or what was going on. And I was like, no, I had no idea. This sucks. So
No,
he's
wish you
I'm
never
re-
told me.
yeah, well, that's kind of leads to the rest of the story. But I was like, okay, well, thanks for telling me. Like, that's great. So obviously we go get a drink, and we spend the rest of the night Googling different ways to take meth.
Like you do.
And there, I mean, we could go down a Google rabbit hole, but there.
Oh
are
no,
some-
you don't need Google. I'm right here. Bro.
Oh,
I can
yeah,
tell you
yeah.
all the different ways- I can tell you all the different ways.
But
to
all
do
the
that.
different terms and everything are
Oh
hilarious.
yeah. No, I know all of them.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
save,
actually,
that, save that for your story.
Right? Not hiding it.
So next day, I text her. We go meet up. I'm like, yo, this happened, and then I did the whole like, oh, don't leave me, it's a lie. And so like we broke up or whatever, and I drove away. And so my
Was she running?
Just
after
fast
the
forward
car,
through that
like, with her
fucker.
arm
Yeah,
outstretched,
just
like,
fast forward.
No, don't leave.
Yeah. So
hear you.
bye, Felicity. So
I felt the same way when the TV show went off air.
so my
Deep cut. Deep cut.
my
Hasn't
so
even aired yet.
Let's talk about crossing Jordan.
Do we have to?
No.
I grew up in a Christian household. I don't need to hear anymore of Dawson's Creek,
Alan
Crossing
McBeal,
Jordan.
anyone?
You guys
My
need a
roommates. What?
You guys need a drink.
I'm
I'm
good
okay
that.
for right now, but help yourself, buddy.
Oh, I'm almost done with my second one.
Jesus Christ. So what'd you learn is from Burl's perspective. If your significant other is whack, tell them.
Yes.
Or if your
Be a
friend's
good friend.
significant other is whack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because they might not know.
Yes, be a good friend.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta say, like,
straight up.
I appreciate how receptive you obviously were to your friend saying something about that, because there are a lot of people, I would assume, and I can probably count myself as one in that situation, where you would obviously take your significant other's side versus
Right,
like
right,
your best
right.
buds.
Depending on how long you've known them, or how
Right.
intimate the relationship.
Right.
But you're totally right. That does seem to be the default
Right.
thing people go to. Is like, no, I know this person. You must be mistaken or whatever.
Well, your friend, like, I would assume he probably had some little bit of hang up on whether he was going to tell you.
Yeah,
or
with
whether
the
you were gonna
whole
believe him, or
48
how it
hour
was gonna work.
period. Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
there was
right.
definitely some apprehension, and
Oh, dude, that anxiety, I can only imagine that.
Right.
yeah, no, that's
And it does kind of factor in the whole situation where your friend is dating someone that is either has issues that they are not divulging to their significant other, or
they're
other
bad
things.
for
You
your.
know something's going on. It's kind of that situation where you can say something, and then your friend, could blow up and not be like, "No, fuck you! What do you know?" Or sometimes people are in that situation where you say something to your friend like, "I don't, this person's not good for you because I see how they treat you." Not in this, not about this story specifically, but
Right.
like in general. You can say like, this is a bad situation, and here's what I'm seeing. And they say, "Oh, it's not like that, or it's not that bad," and then you're kind of stuck in this place where you have kind of spoken your piece. You have told them how you feel about it,
Right, and you see
and then you just
the
kind of
outside
have to let
perspective.
them. Like, I can, I'm still your friend. I'm still here for you, but you know how I feel about this person.
Let them-
and I'm not like, if you're gonna come to me and complain about the shitty thing your partner did to you for the 40th 200th time.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it gets to a point where you're like, how I feel about this. Like, I'm always here
It comes
to
from a
support
place
you.
of caring, and not
Yeah.
a place of like I just don't like this person you're with or whatever. It comes from
Right,
I
right.
see what it does to you, and it's clearly not leading you down a good path. So, just letting you know, buddy, you do you. But that type of
Yeah,
it's
like,
a-
I'm
it's
just
a-
going to leave this right here.
It's an
You do with
uncomfortable
it
You
tightrope.
do
what
with
you
it
want.
how you want
Exactly.
to,
Right,
Yeah, but
right.
But when
here's
you
what
bring
I
it up
saw.
again, how what I've already said is my my take on this. Different than I've had acquaintances and friends who they have a friend who is in a a really fucked up situation, and their response to that was like to tell them, you should do this, you should do that, or I can help you, and that their friend ends up going back to that same shitty situation, and so my friend was just like, well, I'm out.
Right.
I'm just gonna.
I said what I had to say.
I have said what I have to say, and you didn't listen. The first maybe 2 or 3 times,
can't-
so
I can't
I'm
watch
no
this.
longer going to engage with you at all. And I'm like, that I can kind of see both sides of that, but
Well,
then at the same time, you're kind of then being like, well, you're in a shitty situation, and you will come out of it eventually, one way or another.
But does engaging with that friend who is with that person that you don't want them to be with, does that impact your quality of life in some way, like your happiness?
I mean,
because
if it does, then I can definitely. That's why I'm saying I can definitely
Right.
see it from both sides, because you.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not,
No,
If
it's an
it's
interesting
negatively
discussion.
impacting your psyche and your emotional well-being, definitely taking a step back is the good thing to do for yourself. But then, if it's just because you're frustrated that they're not listening to you,
right.
is
Right.
kind of the situation.
But
that
it's
I was
also-
mentioning.
it's
Some
also
people are
this,
just
right?
They just won't listen, so I'm gonna step
Yeah,
back. I'm
well,
like,
you can
okay,
always-
but then you're no longer a support. You're no longer
yeah,
there
yeah.
to like reach out to if they are legitimately getting
So
out of that situation.
It goes worse.
Well,
or
there's a
something.
line, right? And I don't know if it's like a fine line or if it's like a
This is what we call
a
a
blurred line,
sidebar.
right?
No, it's a good discussion. I mean,
No,
it's
it's
extremely
something I've been
relevant.
thinking
Yeah.
about because I remember, and I'll go more into like kind of where my life has gone in that in the podcast. But when I was trying to get my life back together, I had a lot of people who would step forward and kind of tell me like, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, blah blah. And the thing that always kind of struck me, that pissed me off, is it's like, this is my life. Like, do not assume that I have not thought about all of these factors before.
Sure.
That I've not gone down these roads in my own mind or even attempted.
Right.
Right.
That I haven't thought of. That was like, it's,
Yeah.
it's like
So there's a
the
line.
condescending thing people say about depression. It was like, well, you should just feel happy. It's like,
Exactly.
Oh, I never fucking thought of that.
Right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's
Jogging
hard.
is the cure for depression?
Yeah, so like what I was saying to Dallas is I commend him, one, for being open enough from
Yeah.
what his friend said to him, but at the same time I commend his friend who had to make that hard decision of like, when do I step up and say something and how do I respect that line?
It's very
at the same
it's very
time,
relevant
right?
and it's very I appreciate you sharing that story because it does have something to say about friendship and how about relationships in general. Of just a little bit of honesty goes a long way, and when you end up lying and not covering up the truth or skating around the truth.
Here's a question. Not saying anything, is that lying?
Lie by omission is still lying.
Yes.
So if you are aware of something but you know
And you're not divulging that information, yes, it is technically.
it's-
But
if
even
it's
if you're
relevant
avoiding
to
the
both
situation because you understand the drama entailed if you do say something, like you're now entangled in that situation.
Well, you get into
have to
that.
respond.
You get into those little white lie territory that our parents are all told.
I don't know
us
if it's a white
growing up.
lie, but
Well,
like
then
imagine
it
this.
also gets into the question of how good a friend do you want to remain being with this person. If
Right.
the whole situation's going to blow up in your face and be a dramatic, my dad's favorite phrase, pig fucking goat rope.
Right.
It's a good one. Isn't that good?
That's not bad.
It's good.
It's kind of fun.
If it's going to be a PFGR, and you don't want any
Need
of
to make
that in
stickers
your
of
life, then you can like really step back and be like, well, by stepping back and not divulging and letting it just blow up on its own, you're kind of taking a step back from that relationship with the person.
But that's also assuming that like you have enough emotional bandwidth to continually step in on those situations with people, right? So
Right.
like there's a magician named Darren Brown who I've very much idolized, and he said in a book, he said everyone is living just as equal a difficult life as you are. Right, and
right.
to
There's no misery Olympics.
right, and to not assume
Yeah.
that is to quietly take away someone's humanity in a way. I don't know the exact
Oh, that's
verbiage, but that's
interesting.
Yeah.
kind of
I
the way
like
he
that.
worded it, right? So he said at the same time, like, wow, there are conditions of where you should step up, or we feel like we should or we shouldn't, blah blah blah. Like we have to acknowledge that other person is living their exact own difficult life, right? Like with their own emotional bandwidth.
It's
with
all
their own
perspective.
energy.
It's all everybody's got their own different wiring and different.
And I don't mean a
things going
tangent.
on.
I'm just saying, like, I can see both sides in the situation. Him and is it Bernard? Is that the name?
Burl.
Burl was the.
And how like I kind of commend the moment where you both conversed on it.
Yeah.
Where like you both were receptive and sensitive enough
no,
to
that's
it.
definitely something to be said. Well, thank you for sharing that lovely story with us, Dallas.
Yeah.
It
And
led
so,
to a
did
nice
we get
discussion.
to the specifics? So, what'd you learn on that? Or
Oh,
did we
I was
interrupt
just
before?
saying that the kind of what we were just talking about. The what'd you learn is from Burl's point of view to just if your very good friend's significant other is whack,
Yeah.
ask him, talk to
If
him,
you see
tell him.
You see something.
See
say
something horrible, yeah.
And I'm sure you learned the kind of the opposite of that is that if your friend comes to you and telling you that your significant other is whack,
you should listen to
you
him,
should,
maybe.
at least humor
least
them
hear
at
him
the
out.
Be
very
receptive.
least.
Be receptive.
Yeah.
Be
right?
receptive.
Receptive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most deaf.
Cool.
I think it's
Indeed.
time for Chris's story, though.
It was. That was a good discussion.
Oh,
though.
I have a many. I think I'm going to tell a particular one. Have any of you ever met an idol you had?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll I
He's like, enough of that. Anyway.
No, I didn't mean that. I just
And yes, I have always been disappointed. So.
you've always been disappointed.
Yes.
How about you, Al?
No, I have not been disappointed. I have not met many of my idols.
Right.
Oh, that's it.
Right.
I
I
have one
just met
exception,
one.
but I met about 3. 2 of them sucked. One of them was really cool.
I think I've only met one of my idols, so I completely understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be like a large list of people you've met that you consider an idol.
Zach, who did you meet that disappointed you? Made you cry?
Disappointed me?
Tiny delicious Zach.
Was Gilbert
Steel
Gottfried,
Reserve.
honestly.
Really? Because, really?
I've always liked him.
He's not like my favorite comedian, but I respect him. And
Is he anyone's favorite comedian?
he's the comedian's comedian, which means he's like really, really good, but no one really likes him.
He plays the parrot in Aladdin, and I very much
also- yes,
enjoy
he's
that
the
parrot.
Affleck Duck.
I also did
Is
that.
he the Affleck Duck?
He was,
And then he
yeah.
got fired for
What did he say? Did he
tweeting
say
about
something
the
racist?
Japanese tsunami.
Oh God, what did he say about the Japanese tsunami?
Something about it was a drowning joke. It was
Too soon.
Yeah. It was right after it happened.
Was
too.
the Japanese economy struggling to keep their head above water, something like that?
It might have been something along those lines. I don't.
I mean,
quite
that's
remember.
just a joke that writes itself. Like, can you really be considered the comedian if like that's your joke and it's just like right there?
Actually, all three of my idols are comedians. The second one that disappointed me was not to put anyone on blast. Don't fucking blow anyone's Twitter up. I don't want
it's
to
not
be
live at
associated
all.
with
Don't
this.
blow it. Yeah. If you're out there, listener, don't.
But John Lovitz was also a huge dick.
I think
very
that dude almost hit
disappointed.
me with his car in Hollywood.
Really?
I swear to fucking God. No, I'm not even kidding you.
That would not surprise me.
I was
John Lovitz. He was on SNL. He voiced the critic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up on my
He,
phone.
I swear to God, he almost hit me in Hollywood and Vine. I was in California a while back, and I almost know for sure it was him because right up that hill, I know he has a comedy club.
Yes, which is now bankrupt, but
Yes, well that makes
Morally or
with us.
financially?
both.
both. When it's John Lovitz.
Love it or love it?
Lovitz.
Lovitz.
Ends with a Z. Yeah.
Oh, okay. LOV.
Yeah, he's a comedian,
IT.
voice actor.
I thought The Critic was the best thing he ever did.
I agree with that. I loved it, and I brought my Critic DVD. He was performing out in Bellevue, and I went to go see him.
Oh, that asshole. Okay.
Yeah, right.
He just has
And I brought my Critic DVD for him to sign, and he's like, "I don't do autographs for free, kid."
That's so
And-
stupid.
Oh God! Like
It's just
he
like,
has.
aw.
For those who don't know who Don Lovitz is,
John Lovitz.
whatever. John Lovitz. I forgot his name immediately.
Doesn't matter.
He has what I learned a new word in German.
I need another beer.
Backpfeifengesicht, which
I'm on it,
means
both
he
of them.
has a fucking punching bag face.
That's
like
fun.
it's
Germans have the best descriptive words.
it's so good.
like
You just-
Schadenfreude.
I'm on my third beer, guys.
So you know it's gonna be a good story.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be a multifaceted story.
But the best, I did have a good experience. I met Mike Lawrence, and he was super cool. And we went to him, my girlfriend at the time,
Lawrence.
and Chris Cubis went to the Mopop Museum and had a blast.
Oh, that's fun.
I actually did a
love
magic
Mopop.
show at the Mopop Museum. Yeah. About 800 people.
Anyway, I went on enough a tangent about my idols that I met and my own experiences. So
Just to write on that, I met Maria Bamford one time, and she was lovely.
that doesn't
Give me a high
surprise me.
five.
I got to tell her that she was my Beyonce, and she's like, "Isn't Beyonce great?" And I'm like, "No, but I mean, sure, I guess I don't really like Beyonce, but you
I like you.
you are my Beyonce." She's like, "Oh, that's so sweet."
Aw.
They insisted on a photograph, and I don't like taking photographs of famous people because it feels like it's like I'm doing this for Facebook likes, because I don't ever really go back and look at photographs I've taken with famous
But Alex,
people.
how else are you gonna get serotonin? Our brains don't produce it anymore.
That's true. I got serotonin by watching her perform, and it was lovely. But I got to give her a hug and tell her she was my Beyonce, and she signed my stuff. She signed my CD with something about Beyonce, and I'm like, all right, that's
That's
fine. And that was that.
There you go.
Neat, yeah. Also, one time I met Jane Goodall, and she was nice. She has shit taste in music, though.
The ape? The
Well, she's a human, in fact, but
No, I didn't mean like that. I mean like the gorilla. The gorilla
she's
starts
the
gorillas?
chimpanzees in
Chimps.
in
No, I
Africa.
did not.
She spent all of the formative, the music, the Beatles years. She spent those in the fucking jungle, and so her taste in music is pretty.
Did she listen to Jungle?
I was gonna say it's just in the jungle tonight. Just
No, it was some sort of talk she did at the concert hall in Seattle and about her foundation or something, helping children or some bullshit. And fucking kids.
Fuck children.
Yeah, right. But they had this musical guest come out and sing songs that were the most derivative, cliched, uninteresting, unpoetic songs I have ever heard. And she's like, that was so good. It was so beautiful.
I've been
I'm like, your taste in music sucks. I respect everything
Well, she
else
lived in the
about
jungle,
you.
like you said, for what,
She
20,
lived
30 years?
exactly. I'm like, I respect everything else about you. Your taste in music is so behind the times.
I suppose as long as you're not listening to gorillas fucking is probably an improvement.
Right, but the important thing is that I found a way to feel superior to Jane Goodall.
Oh, there you go. I dig it.
Anyway,
Anyways,
back to Chris.
so I met my idol, one of my major idols, as a surprise birthday present, actually. You guys horror movie fans at all?
I enjoy
A little bit,
a good
Yeah.
spook.
So when I was younger, flashback, I was about 6, I think 6 or 7, and Night of the Living Dead came out, 1991 color version.
Neat.
I watched it. It was a zombie film, scared the shit out of me. And as I got older, I started to watch, started to find that there were other zombie films. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, right?
Getting real into it.
Yeah, right. So anyways, George Romero, the guy that directed the original Night of the Living Dead, became a very big idol of mine. And I very much liked his films growing up in high school. They got me through a lot of depression and all that stuff. But anyways, I was dating a girl, and she was aware of how much I enjoyed him. And she called me up one day, and she goes, your birthday's coming up. I go, yeah. She goes, well, I got you a ticket to L.A., so you got to take the week off. You're going to come in. I'm not telling you who you're meeting, but come in, blah, blah, blah.
Is it the Pope? Just love the Pope.
No, he shits in the woods.
And bears are Catholic.
Right.
Anyway.
I was a amateur actor at the time, working on a bunch of different films, like mostly like low independent, like very little funding. And as a birthday gift, she had arranged this trip out there to go to L.A. So I went up there, and she took me to a place called Universal City in L.A., and there was a hotel. She brought me in, sat me down. We were sitting here having coffee.
That's like a big Disneyland style mall type
Oh
thing.
yeah, it's
down
a
there.
huge,
Yeah.
it's a huge city that Universal City owns. It's got like a Planet Hollywood.
It's got
like,
literally every chain restaurant that exists.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a big tourist trap if you go to LA, right?
But does it have a taco time?
I love Taco Time so
Taco
goddamn
Time's
much.
amazing, and they're few and far between.
In fact, I had
Local
a number
humor.
3 beef
Well, they
with
actually
iced
exist
tea
in other states.
today.
Oh, I did
Yeah,
not know that
they
actually.
do.
They don't what?
Yeah, Taco Time is not just Washington State. They
It's,
exist
also
across
in
the
Oregon.
across the United
Oh, I thought you said they
States.
weren't across the United States, and I was gonna be very
He's gonna
surprised.
flip over the
They're
state.
mostly in Washington State because
Oh.
their mascot was what, Pat Cashman?
What?
No, not Pat Cashman. Who's the guy who oh god, he's a local.
I'm from
celebrity.
Michigan. I don't originally know.
Well, I am from Michigan as well,
So,
and I've met Pat
sorry.
Cashman actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know him. Him and Chris Cashman.
but yeah, no, Pat Cashman was the spokesperson for Taco Time.
The first acting thing I ever did was with Pat Cashman.
Nice.
I worked for PBS on a show called Biz Kids, and
Biz Kids, like
Biz Kids.
biscuits, but like business.
BIZKIDS.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, it was a show they'd made for kids to show how to invest and save money. It was a neat show. I did crew for it, and I was trying to get into acting. It's before I started my kind of amateur film career, and they'd asked me to come work on a show. And long story short, like I'd met Pat through this. It was a really strange shoot. Actually, it was for Microsoft, and it was for Microsoft Internet Explorer, and it was about phishing because back then that was a big thing. So the idea was. It was a really bad internal commercial, and Pat was walking down with his kid, and then I come running past him in a wetsuit with like snakes attached to me, fake blood, and I'm screaming, blah blah blah, like.
Huh.
And I guess the dialogue in the commercial was something like, "Well, you wouldn't allow fishing on your Internet Explorer, or would you jump in the water with electric eels, kind of thing. Like
So
you
they're-
wouldn't do either one of those."
What
So they're talking about fishing in the internet sense.
It was an
of-
awful-
PHISHING.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Fishing.
Which I don't know if that's even that big of a thing at this point on the internet. But
Well, there's very little privacy on the internet anymore, so
Yeah.
like most people are like, oh, don't give your credit card info to a stranger.
Yeah, the Nigerian prince scam is,
Yeah, Right,
is
yeah.
a phishing
Send me
is a
money
phishing
and I'll make you a
scam. Yeah,
millionaire.
exactly. Yeah, that's a phishing scam.
So past all that, done several amateur films, and I get this birthday invite by her to come out to Universal City. So I go out there, sets me down at the table, we're having coffee, like I said, and then this woman comes down, she's got a video camera in her lap. So she sits down across from us, and then my girlfriend gets up, she walks over and sits down at the table. I obviously know that this is someone connected to who I'm supposed to meet, because I was told it was going to be a surprise. So I'm sitting at the table, and like right behind me, I hear this booming voice. And he says something like, there's the guy with chops. Like, you can't see me right now because we're on a podcast, but I have chops.
Yeah, he's a mutton chop guy.
So I look around, and I'm looking at this, like, 6'5" George Romero standing right in front of me.
I didn't know
Holy
he's that
shit.
tall.
Dude, he's huge. He's huge. Like, if anybody listening, if you don't know who George Romero is, he's essentially the godfather of the zombie film.
Yes.
Like, he's the one that wrote the original 1961.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Right? Yes, exactly. He wrote that, and it completely changed the genre of film. I mean, he created the zombie film.
Yeah.
So he sat down. I went ape shit, man. I never thought I would meet this
flinging
guy.
things.
Ever met I meet this guy.
Just
So he sits down. He buys me a Jack and Coke. He gets a double Johnny Walker Red and Coke. We sit down and we drink. And we just start talking for like 2 hours straight. I was supposed to apparently, the arrangement she had made was we were only supposed to sit down for 30 minutes. It was going to be a favor. The conversation went into 2 hours. And he was supposed to leave to go meet with Marvel
2
because he was writing a
hours
comic
later.
book, right? He was writing a comic book for Marvel about all of his films. So he sat down with me for a bit, and we talked about everything. We talked about his views on feminism. We talked about his views on his older films, his newer ones, on the state of zombie films.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, he
You got a real inside
yeah.
he
conversation.
To pick the brain of the progenitor.
exactly like if you watch his
Word.
films.
Thank you. I have a word a day calendar.
Better than word today toilet paper.
So during this conversation, he kind of shares a lot of behind the scenes stuff about film that normally you wouldn't tell many outsiders or people even trying to break in.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of it, he invites me to go do a re-showing of Day of the Dead because they're re-releasing the soundtrack. So I'm like, of course, like George Romero invites you to come to a showing in L.A., re-showing of the film. Okay, there's a weird awkward. I don't know what's going on right now.
I've been fucking with Adobe Audition for the last 10 minutes, and I finally got it to be perfectly set up. And
Is
now
that
I'm
why
just
you get this
sitting there happy with myself. Yeah.
Tiger Woods fist pump?
Yeah, that's why I haven't said anything for like, I don't know how
Oh, no
long.
worries.
We forgot you were here. Kidding. No, you're sitting across the table.
He's producing the show.
It's fun now.
Anywho,
Sorry, anyway.
Oh, no worries, guys.
welcome to the show. It's bullshit and nonsense.
So we had sat there and talked, and I learned just a lot about how he viewed the Hollywood system and himself.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he invited me to that new showing of Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead with the new soundtrack, and I was like, I get to go be George's personal guest.
Yeah,
for
that's
2
fucking
hours.
wild. That's,
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's-
So I sit there.
You were his
and
plus one.
I don't know if you guys
Did you wear like a gown or like?
No, I had this like
Pearls?
really nice ornate jean jacket with like a button-up shirt, like really nice pants. I had so when I
What
packed,
year was
I had no idea who I was
this?
meeting. This was
Nine-
about 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that showing, I met a guy named Greg Nicotero. If you know who he is, he's the guy that directed Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? They're all friends, kind of from the past.
Yeah. All in that same realm
Yeah.
of film.
And in this interim, like I got to talk to George and discuss things like if you kind of pay attention to how important his films were back in the day, like the original Night of the Living Dead was kind of a statement about Vietnam. Like when he wrote that zombie film, it was a comment on the films or the when you would go to the theater back then, they would show like a 30-second clip or a minute clip of like, you know, us on the front line fighting the enemy, and it was always
Right,
these
right.
clips
It was
of
the
like
news-
a little
the
news
newsreel.
news thing. They've been doing that since
Yeah.
World War One.
And for Vietnam, it was always these clips he was telling me about how the Vietnamese were coming out of the trees, like they were the monsters, and we were
Charlie's in the
terrified, and
trees.
the
I can't
Americans
see
were
him.
like fighting them, and like, you know. So the idea behind that movie was like that fear that we had of these people coming out of the trees.
Okay,
Right?
that makes sense.
And mind you, he did take some of his inspiration from a film called Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price that had come out, I think, in the 50s. But quintessentially, he created the zombie. Past that, in that first film, if you pay attention, like the main lead becomes a black lead. Like at that time, it was kind of unknown to put an African American as the lead. Like, kind of a huge thing. But at the same time, the female character he wrote in that film was very one-dimensional. It was kind of a cipher.
Me and Chance recently saw this at a wonderful place up on Capitol Hill called Central Cinema, where they do like second run stuff and they serve you
Right.
beer and pizza and stuff. It was great.
Do you notice Barbara's kind of one-dimensional in that?
She's fucking useless the
Yes.
entire time.
Yes.
And I remember I think I was talking to you about this before about the concept of authorial intent versus
Right.
death of the author.
Right.
So like you were mentioning how George
The intentional
is
fallacy you talking about?
No. Is it George A. Romero?
Yes.
What does the A stand for? Do we know? Alfred?
I don't remember his middle name.
Alistair?
It was usually George Romero or George A. if it was in like
Aragorn.
Anyway, it's not important, but Aragorn. God damn it.
Oh, like you wouldn't be surprised.
Right. No, so like authorial intent versus death of the author, meaning like George Romero made the movie specifically about kind of being an allegory for Vietnam and using that
all of his films had allegories.
Right. But watching that movie in a current setting, we watched it, I think, last month, and it was delightfully restored to like 4K or something. It was like super clear and beautiful. But it definitely had a more of racial subtext more than it did
like a feminist kind of subtext.
Oh, sorry.
Like a feminist subtext. You're talking about?
No, like if I hadn't known that it was meant to be about Vietnam.
Right.
You didn't watch it. I wouldn't have ever picked it up.
Yeah.
And so I got a whole different perspective on what the film kind of is talking about because I'm viewing it from a current
Well, that's the point of art, right?
Right, that's the point of art.
Right.
And so, like, the death of the author isn't about specific the author dying, literally. It's about once you make a work of art and you put it out there, it's for other people to interpret and get from it what they get from it.
Right. You're talking about the unreliable narrator versus the intentional fallacy that comes with literature and storytelling.
Maybe
that separation between author and narrator.
That conversation is not one that I myself am familiar with, so I wouldn't be able to be like definitely that's what I'm talking about. Maybe it is. I'm not familiar with the intentional fallacy. But like in that movie, there's this scene where Barbara, useless fucking piece of shit, Barbara.
Has there ever been a useful Barb? I just didn't
watch the remake.
Barbed hooks for fishing are extremely useful, so you don't lose your fish.
And
just saying.
And barbed wire.
Because we were talking about fishing earlier, different type of fishing, but I'm trying to work that in. So sue me. Actual listeners, please don't sue me. Listener, sorry. Yeah, so she runs into this house, and the black lead actor says this line like, "Come in. There's going to be more of them now that they know we're in here."
Right.
And it was the only two people that you see are this white woman and a black man.
Yeah.
And it done in the 60s. I have the perspective that it's made in the 60s, but I don't have the Vietnam. Yeah, it was
the
war reel perspective. So I'm like, is that a statement about just interracial relationships and
it was,
what society thinks of that?
Right. It was more of a statement on nobody was hiring black leads at that point.
Right.
And I think he kind of burned it. But as George had said later on, he was incredibly embarrassed about Barbara, that character. He felt like he made her
so bad.
Yeah, he felt he made her too one-dimensional. And so if you watch the remake made in 1991, like, she is a badass in that movie. Like, she's the one that leads the force in that whole movie. And that was his apology to women. He was like, I felt like I made this really shitty character that was one-dimensional and kind of a cipher, and it just kind of bleh on the screen. Yeah. It's just kind of how it felt, right? What were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, no. I was going to say literally nothing.
Okay.
Just sitting here.
So you're hanging out with George Romero, getting to pick his brain. You get to go to this premiere.
Right. So one of the things I got to pick his brain about, he did a film called Land of the Dead, right? This is just kind of one of the jokes that he told me that I'm going to share. He's gone, so I suppose I can tell this. When he did Land of the Dead, he wanted a black lead, like he had done in all the other films. And the studio said, no, we're going to sell it foreign, and they want a white lead. It's not going to work with a black lead. We can't do it.
Garbage.
So George, wanting to get this film made, Land of the Dead, with the studio, said, well, I'll obviously comply. I need the funding. So in the movie, if you watch, the main lead is actually the head zombie, which is black. And he made the white guy eventually a douchebag.
Yeah, that's a good workaround. Yeah.
So that was his, like, fuck you to the studio, and he kind of told me that, in other words. He's like, that was kind of my screw you to Hollywood. Because George was not a Hollywood guy whatsoever.
No, he never seemed like you wanted to be part of that system.
He just kind of worked with it in order to kind of facilitate.
Yeah, guys, I just want to make my movies and be left alone.
Right? Basically, I mean, isn't that what every artist wants, though?
Exactly. And during this, I kind of pitched to him that I was an amateur budding scriptwriter, and I had come up with a script called Dead on Arrival, which was like a short 5-minute zombie short, and he actually really liked the idea. So I told him like in that meeting before I flew back here to Washington after LA, I said, well, you know, once I write it, I'll send it out to you, and if you're interested, just if you want to put your name on it, and I'll go produce it. And he was like super excited about doing it, right?
Wow.
So literally the moment I finally finished it and got it to a point where I felt comfortable sending it to him, I sent it to him that night. I had a glass of wine with my girlfriend, called my dad up, and I told him, like, yeah, I sent the script. You know what I'm saying? Like, I sent the script finally, like, I'm so excited, blah, 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 and I'm talking to my dad on the phone, and my dad had sounded like he had health problems a couple weeks before. So we're on the phone. I'm pretty buzzed because, like I said, I'd been celebrating. And
oh, I thought you meant right now because you are on.
Well, I am in fact buzzed now.
I thought you were just gonna say you're on beer.
Right.
I don't do alcohol.
So
no, he's on high gravity lager. Thank you.
So I'm talking to my dad, and I kind of like at the end of it, I kind of rushed to get off the phone. I'm like, I'm a little buzzed, Dad. I'm gonna go.
Can't talk
get
right
some
now.
sleep,
Yeah.
right?
I gotta go be drunk.
So I fall asleep, and I wake up at about 6 a.m. to go to work. And my phone is full of messages and missed phone calls from my mom and my brother.
Never good.
So I pick up and I call, like, I'm looking through the messages, and, like, my brother's like, your dad's in the hospital, dad's in your hospital. Literally, this is the night after. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I call up my brother, and I'm thinking, like, my dad's in ICU or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
My brother straight up tells me, he goes, your dad's gone.
Jesus.
He's like, he passed away from a heart attack last night. And I lost my shit.
I imagine, yeah. To go literally from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, that is a hell of a fucking nosedive to take.
And past that, like, George was kind of communicating with me because he was interested in the script, but we both sort of quit speaking for a period of time. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I lost my shit.
Sure.
mind.
I mean, it's hard to focus on talking to George Romero while
my
dad
dad's
died.
gone, right? And during this interim, I got really heavy more into drugs than I had before.
Sure.
Just I'll say it on air. I'm in recovery, but through it, like I said, I lost my fucking mind. And then when eventually, like a couple years later, when I started to get clean, and sort of deal with my dad's stuff, I tried to reconnect with George. And it was like, I remember a week after I sent him an email, he passed away from lung cancer.
Wow.
And that kind of struck a chord a little bit with me. And I thought, gosh, the timing just wasn't right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I mean, with things like that, it's just opportunities like that. It is so much just luck of the draw and timing. And
You know?
everything is just luck, essentially.
I had felt like such a fuck up. This point, right?
Sure.
I had messed up my whole life with drugs. I had lost my opportunity with him. He
Yeah,
was gone.
you felt like
I
you
lost
kind
my
of
friend.
blew
Yeah.
the big opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then,
It's one of the universe's fuck yous, you know?
yeah, kind of. And the more I thought about it, and the more I kind of dealt with, like, understanding my father's passing, the more I started to realize that it wasn't actually that I wanted to work so much with George. I wanted to know him.
Yeah.
And I had made such an incredible friend with him. The brief period of time that we did interact.
That kind of instant connection type of thing.
That was, to me, 10 times more important than putting my name or his name on a project together.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so, one side I want to say, like, what I learned was your idol can often be as cool, if not way cooler than you expected, and more human than you expected, because he was really an incredible guy. Sometimes, like, it is not exactly what you think that you want. Like, the goal for me was to try and get to work
Right,
with him on
you went
something.
in like, oh, fucking George
Exactly.
Romero, like, this is cool, my career's
Yeah.
gonna fucking, skyrocket.
But the things that I relished the most were the time sitting with him, just me and him talking.
A human
about-
interaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A normal human interaction with someone whose work you really respect, and you got to pick that person's brain.
Yeah, and the kind of the validation, not the validation, but the thrill of truly realizing that someone that is larger than life is just a regular person.
Oh, he was amazing. He was amazing. I
And-
wish he were still alive today.
And digs a thing you showed him that came out
For
of
sure.
your brain, and like
Like, I've been in and out of Hollywood, right? Like, I've done a lot of amateur stuff. I've done some semi-pro stuff. I have never met professionals that were as human, that had as good character, and that were, like, just
as down to earth.
down to earth
Wow.
as this guy was.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I'm incredibly sad he's gone.
that makes me really happy. I mean, yeah, sad. Same way, sad he's gone, but that makes me really happy that he was such a good guy, and he was willing to just
Shoot the shit.
Yeah, shoot the shit.
Like,
Yeah, be
it's
a
like,
real
oh,
dude.
I have a fan who wants to meet me. Cool, let's sit down and drink for 2
yeah.
hours.
Yeah,
Like,
fuck
that's
it.
dope
Fuck
as
yeah,
fuck.
I'll talk to you about any number of
Just
things.
to have those 2 hours, and then I remember him getting up and leaving, and he goes,
fucking
"Are
wild.
you leaving LA anytime soon?" And I said, "I got to leave tomorrow." And he goes, "Well, if you can stay an extra day, I'd love for you to come and watch the viewing Day of the Dead with me."
Yeah.
I have a gown for you.
That for me was just like I was beaming.
Oh, fuck
Right.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So what I take from it is losing, my dad, and then like my idol, kind of like shortly after, is that I now value more the human interaction I get with people than so much the surface or what I can display to people through
That's
that
awesome.
relationship.
That's an awesome
It's an
takeaway.
excellent lesson
Yeah.
to take from that.
Because you could have taken so much shittier lessons from that, from those experiences. I mean, it's
True.
You,
Yeah.
you
Well,
joke
and to
about
kind of
it, but-
edit that a little bit, like when we were talking about idols earlier, I've never met one of my idols per se, but I've met somebody who then became one of my idols later on down the road.
Oh.
And
yeah.
they're just regular folks.
Yeah, that's got to be
It's
interesting.
eye-opening.
Yeah,
Seeing
Yeah,
someone
it is-
you've
it is
seen
cool.
and idolized for so long, and they're just as human and down to earth as you.
yeah, and you,
Yeah.
you
It's a
still
really-
know
it's
them
a
as
wonderful
And we both
experience,
got
it really
props,
is.
but we handle.
Well, everyone
we
does.
deal.
Who's your? Are we not divulging?
Yeah, who's your idol?
Tell us.
One of my very close friends, Mason Lowe, is a cool cat.
Oh, like, I mean, on a personal level, so he's not like a.
Well, we were like friends beforehand, but then like it developed into like, oh, like you're an awesome person. You have all this advice. You're a rock and roller. Like
Gotcha,
it's just one of those things. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, he's just a normal dude.
It's
Great.
That was a killer story, Chris. Thanks.
God,
This
Thank
Steel
you.
Reserved killed me, and so did your story and the compounding.
I didn't mean it to get down. I wanted it to
No,
be-
no,
It's fine.
that's
On
fine.
this
That's the
podcast,
point.
we want the full spectrum. We want funny, we want sad, we want scary, we want. What was the point of that? And can I get my life back? So
little bit of
a little bit of everything.
very, very real bumpy.
the cornucopia
Yeah, for sure.
of life is vast and uninteresting, and here we are. It was a great story, actually.
Yes. It was very
Thank you
good.
for
I liked
sharing.
it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for being on our show. Our
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
enjoyed it.
guess this is our thing.
Yeah, I think
If you guys ever want me back, let me know.
any
course.
fucking time, man. You're a cool dude, and
I got a fuck ton of stories, I assure you.
clearly, yeah. No, I
Yeah,
didn't know about this secret Hollywood side of you. So
I heard half of it, but I didn't hear the other half, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, if like, I'm just incredibly glad I got to meet that guy. Really,
Yeah.
really,
yeah,
Sure.
of course.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Anyways.
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Should we pump in the jams?
Yeah, I think
Pump
that's going
the
to do us
jams.
up
Pump
for
up
tonight.
the jam.
Pump it up.
Or not.
Yeah.
You guys need to down more beers and catch up with me.
Yeah.
I have to drive you guys home.
I like
You
how
need
we're-
an extra one for the road.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
This has been So What'd You Learn?
And you can follow us on.
Oh yeah, I forgot about all the important
Yeah,
shit.
the plugs and shit.
For any of you who haven't turned this off 10 minutes ago,
For those 6 people still listening, thank you.
you can follow us on WDY Learn podcast at Instagram. You can also Twitter at us. I don't know how Twitter works. It's
You
the
can
same
follow
exact
us
thing.
at Twitter.
So WDY Learn podcast on Twitter, and then you can also email us anything, any stories, any what'd you learns type thing,
And we can read them on air. You
Yeah.
can remain anonymous if
Yeah.
you want.
Or we can dox you. And
Or that.
at our own discretion.
Please
or you
don't
can pick a
dox.
person to read
I'm
it.
not going to do that. I'm kidding.
And that email
fine.
address is sowdylearn@gmail.com.
And that's so. What did you learn? WDY stands for what did you for brevity. So
Say it again.
WDYlearn@gmail.com. Same on Twitter. Same on Instagram.
Chris, do you have any plugs?
No.
Twitter, Instagram, anything you want to plug?
Not at the moment, no.
Oh, right
I'm
on.
good.
Well,
Sweet.
sweet. Well, from all of us at
Alright,
So
dudes.
What'd You Learn?
Yeah.
Have a great
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
of
It
course.
was fun.
Thank
It was
you for
fun.
being on.
week time period.
And we'll see you next time. We need a better outro.
We're working on it.
The So What Did You Learn podcast is brought to you by the So What Did You Learn network. Theme written and recorded by Jacob Rose. Our logo was designed by Stevie Van Bronckhorst. Further work of hers can be found at stevievanb.com.